Good morning, YouTube! What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coop's House. It is now week 12-ish. We hope. Something like that.
This is our first take.
It is. So, we said last week that this week we were going to be painting the block of the Cummins, getting everything ready to go ahead and put this thing on the frame. Hopefully that all works out this week. Hunter is here for just a few minutes.
Enough to do this intro.
Basically to do the intro, and then I am all by myself yet again. Anyway, so today my game plan is to go ahead and get this block painted. That way it has a little bit of time to set and cure, and then I'll go ahead and put the motor mounts on the block. I picked up new frame mounts for the engine from the parts house this morning, so they're ready to be bolted on, so we'll get that done as well. I have some powder coat ordered for a few parts on the block, you know, valve covers, timing cover, just little parts like that we wanted to add some color to, so we're waiting for that. It was supposed to be here by now, but it's not, so who knows. We may get to upload a video this week, we may not. If not, it'll be 2 weeks combined into one.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anywho, Hunter is about to abandon me. He doesn't care. Anyway, so I'll be working all alone yet again for another week. Anyway,
One day. What?
2 days.
2 days.
Anyway, all right, guys, we're gonna get to work. Go away. Okay, guys, so I've taken off about as much as I'm going to take off of this thing. It's really not worth going any further. Number one being because I'm scared to death of taking this off. Because what if I don't remember how it goes back exactly? So yeah, anyway, just going to paint behind that best I can. I'm going to go ahead and paint the entire block. I'm going to spray the top of the head. I may end up having to take a couple things off up here. I got to look again. But anyway, I'm going to end up taking this cover off. So I'm going to leave the front timing cover, I'm going to leave the valve covers, all of that. They'll get a little bit of black paint on, but whenever I take them off to sandblast them and powder coat them and all that stuff, all that'll get cleaned off anyway. So I'm just going to leave them there so that they keep what's underneath from getting paint all over it. So anyway, that being said, I think I might be fixing to spray some paint. I'm going to take some brake clean and just spray on this thing because there are a couple places where there's like some oil and stuff like that, but I want to go ahead and clean that off. So I'll just shoot some brake clean on there and call it good. But anyway, yeah, so I think we're pretty much ready to paint. I'm going to look at this top again one more time and figure out if I need to take anything else off. If not, then we're fixing to paint. So, yeah. Alright guys, so the block's painted on the Cummins. It's not a perfect paint job by any means. The only way to get it perfect would have been to take this thing all the way down, valve covers off, all of that stuff, and paint it that way. I'm not that worried about it. So I've taken off all that I'm going to take off of this thing. So it's painted the best we're going to get it. I mean, most of it's going to be hidden inside the truck anyway, so who really cares? I got a little paint on like the valve covers and you know, the oil filter block here. It's got a little paint on it, but I'm going to look into taking this off and powder coating it as well. But all these parts that have a little bit of overspray on them, they're going to be sandblasted down and powder coated anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I didn't paint the water pump because the water pump has a lot of slop in it, so that'll be coming off and getting replaced anyway. I may do one more light coat on this thing just to make sure that it's good and covered. I didn't paint the oil pan right now because that's actually going to come off as well. I went ahead and picked up a new oil pan gasket. I think this one may have a little bit of a leak. I don't really know. This thing was oily whenever we got it, so we don't really know everywhere it's coming from. So a little bit of preventative maintenance. I can't talk. A little bit of preventative maintenance prior to putting it in the truck. We're going to do that. Before we mount the cab, we're going to go ahead and we're going to replace all of these freeze plugs as well. So just a few things that are easier to do outside the truck. We're going to do it before we put it in. So yeah, anyway, we're going to let this thing sit a while and dry, and then we'll get back to it. So let's wait. So guys, back out here today. Powder coat was delivered today, so I'm able to actually get started sandblasting some of this stuff and get some of the engine parts ready to powder coat. My main focus right now is the timing cover and getting that oil pan gasket changed, getting the oil pan painted, so that way I can put it on the frame. The rest of the stuff can actually be powder coated after it's put on the frame, but I have to have the timing cover back on and all that stuff so I can put it on there, because I'm actually going to have to modify that front cross member to clear the harmonic balancer, I believe. So finally got around to putting my blast cabinet back together. I've made a couple of upgrades. This is a Harbor Freight cabinet, but I've upgraded it a little bit, changed the media feed, added some different lighting, things like that. I may do a video on that later, but anyway. So yeah, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and blast this front timing cover, get it cleaned up, and then that way we can shoot some powder on that and put it back on the motor so we can put the harmonic balancer back on, bolt this thing on the frame, and get started modifying that cross member. So anyway, I'm going to do some blasting. Alright, so the abrasive that I'm using right now is just what I had here. So this is, it's actually a 50-pound bag of blasting media that I got from Harbor Freight. I needed a lot of media at the time and just went and bought that, and I hated it ever since I got it. It's not abrasive at all. It's basically a powder. So, I mean, it took the old powder or the paint or whatever it was that was on here. It took that off, but as far as the rust and stuff like that was on here, it did not. Let you guys see what it looks like. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's not yellow anymore. There's no yellow paint, but there's still quite a bit of rust. But this media won't cut it. So, I think I'm going to just go get a couple bags of that play sand and sift it and use it in here instead, because it did pretty well when I cleaned up the frame. So, I'll just use it in here. It'll be fine. But anyway, it's late in the afternoon. We called it. We're not going to be able to upload a video this week, so you'll get 2 weeks worth when we upload next week. With Hunter not being here, everything's just been a little more time consuming, so blame Hunter. It's his fault. It's always his fault. Anyway, so yeah, not going to be able to do everything I wanted to do this week, so we'll upload next week. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to go get some blasting media, keep recording, and we'll get these parts powdered and get this thing mounted up. So anyway, yeah, we're going to call it a day today.
2 days later.
What's going on, guys? It's been 2 days since we were last here. I had to go to work, got off this morning. So anyway, I went ahead and replaced the media we talked about the other night. Remember the stuff that sucked really bad? Yeah, so we went ahead and took that out and replaced it with the play sand that we sandblasted the truck frame with. So I've actually got about 10 cups of that in the blast cabinet. So I went ahead and stuck the timing cover in here. We're going to go ahead and get started blasting this, get that done, and we're going to be ready to put some powder on this thing. Then we're going to go ahead and go pull the oil pan off of the motor and go ahead and get that oil pan gasket changed, get the oil pan cleaned up and sprayed, and then we'll get that put on, and then we're going to go ahead and get this motor mounted on the frame. So anyway, we're going to do some blasting. So we have finished up blasting the timing cover. We're going to have some sand fall out of here. Not that much. So we're going to go ahead and pull this thing out and check out what it looks like. Yeah. Look at that. We got all that nastiness off of there that we saw before. So this thing's all cleaned up now and ready for powder coat. So that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to get this powder coated and get ready to stick this thing back on the engine and change out that oil pan gasket so we can go ahead and put it on the truck and get it off the floor. So yeah, we're going to do that next and get ready to powder coat some other parts. So let's get this thing powdered. Okay, so it's the next day. I know I said yesterday, right after we finished sandblasting, that we were gonna shoot some powder, but the package that got delivered right before I said that ended up not being on powder coat, ended up being something else. So anyway, my powder coat came late last night, so we have powder now. So now we're actually gonna shoot some powder. So yeah, let's shoot the silver base for the lollipop purple. Park's been at about 375, 380 for about 10 minutes. So, oh yeah. Pull this thing out of here. There it is. That's the silver base coat for the lollipop purple. Gonna hang this thing up, let it cool, and then here in a little while, we'll hang it back up, shoot some purple, bake it all over again, be ready to put it back on the motor. So, just let this thing cool down. So we're having a few issues getting the powder to stick because this is already one coat and our gun doesn't put out enough electricity to make it statically charge. So I'm going to put it in the oven, get a little bit of heat on it, 150 degrees or so, and then take it back out, shoot it again, and then hopefully that'll help with some adhesion. So I'm going to bake this thing a little bit. Here we go. Alright, this thing's been in the oven for 2 to 3 minutes, something like that, so let's see where we're at. It's actually reading around 200 degrees in places. So, I'm going to grab my gloves, we're going to go out there, hang this thing up, and we're going to see what this does when we try to shoot powder over the already heated metal. So, here we go. Alright guys, so as you saw, I went ahead and pulled the timing cover out of the oven after I powder coated it. I didn't say anything because the mic was dead, and we all know how Hunter gets when I forget to turn the mic on. Hunter. So, anyway, show you guys the finished powdered product real quick. Check that out. Yeah. Alright, so I just rode down to O'Reilly's and picked up a new timing cover gasket set. It came with the gasket itself, came with the crank seal, and a couple other little miscellaneous seals that I haven't quite figured out exactly where they go, but we'll figure that out whenever we get into this. So, anyway, now we can put this thing back on the motor, and yeah, so gonna get that done. Okay, so I didn't have the correct tool to press in the crank seal, so I went over to a friend of mine's shop who had the tool, and we pressed this thing in. I didn't film it because I didn't film inside his shop. You know, not everybody's comfortable with that, so it's okay. Anyway, so the seal is in. We did have a little bit of a fitment issue because of the buildup of powder coat in the hole where the seal goes, so we just scraped that out with a razor blade and pressed this thing in. So there you go, seal's in. This is that little depth gauge, and then there's the seal itself. So when you buy the seal kit, it comes with this little depth gauge here, and what this does, this goes on the front of the timing cover. It sits all the way down, sits flush, and then you take the seal, press it in from the back, and it butts up against this depth gauge so that you know just how far this is supposed to go, and then this depth gauge comes out. This little sleeve here, this little plastic sleeve, that's on there so that whenever you slide this over the crank, it doesn't actually turn your seal inside out. So that stays in. So once we actually slide this thing on, bolt it down, all of this is going to come off. So yeah, we have all of the timing cover bolts currently over in a bucket with mineral spirits so we can clean those up and get the excess grease and all that stuff off that didn't come off when we pressure washed it. So they're over there. So we're going to go get those cleaned up, and then we're going to get this thing bolted on the motor and have that much more done. So let's get after that. So the timing cover gasket set that we got is wrong. So the the seal that we pressed in will not fit the crank, and the timing cover gasket itself is shaped only slightly different. So apparently the timing cover gasket set ranges from 89 to 93 and then 94 to whatever, and the one that we have is apparently for the 94 and above, and the truck that this engine came out of was a 91. So that being said, apparently we will not be installing the timing cover tonight. So real quick, I'm just going to go ahead and raise this thing up on the cherry picker and drain the oil into an oil catch pan. That way when we get started again, we can just go ahead and change out the oil pan, gasket, get the oil pan cleaned up, painted, all that stuff. I called O'Reilly. The new part is ordered and should be here tomorrow. So this is as far as we're going to be getting tonight. So I'll drain the oil, and then we're going to call it a night. So, yeah. I want to clarify. When I said I was going to drain the oil, that wasn't what I meant.
Just so we're clear. I think I'm just going to call it a night.
Hey, how you been? May have been a few minutes since you've last seen me in the intro. It's been a week and a half for me. But I'm here in the shop by myself today, or at least for now. Brandon's off doing music stuff. He's about to go get his hair cut. He's got some errands he's got to run today. So I'm here by myself. I'm actually about to take the old pan off this dude, and I'm going to clean it up, wire brush it, make sure it's super clean, and we're going to paint it. Going to paint it black just like we painted the block. So what tells me is the weight of all of this is in the transmission now, so it's going to be kicked back. So I'm going to adjust this chain and even out the weight so I can take it completely off and get to do what I need to do. So, no time to waste. Let's go ahead and knock this dude out. Okay, so I ran into a problem. This bolt right here actually stripped out. Like it is I don't know if I'm on it. There's right there. So pretty much it was already stripped a little bit and I kind of made it worse. So I tried to take a pair of vice grips and turn it, didn't work. So I'm actually about to take this cutoff wheel and make a little notch in it, like kind of like a flathead screw. And I'm going to notch that out, and I'm going to try to take this out with a flathead screwdriver. Will it work? Don't know. Have I seen it done before? Plenty of times. So let's try to get that. I have every single bolt out. I have two more bolts on the other side that went to the transmission lines, I believe. And so they're kind of like a jam nut kind of deal. So this and those two over there, and this will be completely taken off and ready to be painted and all that junk. So let's get to work on this one. Okay, so I finally got the oil pan off. Brandon actually called me and asked if I was able to clean these up. These are the motor mounts that go on the frame. So they're kind of busted, but we're going to reuse them and buy some more parts, you know, be able to save some money. But so I'm gonna clean those up as well and paint those. We're just gonna paint these a basic black, like I said at the beginning of the video. So let's go ahead. I sprayed it down 3 or 4 times with the degreaser, and I hit it with a wire wheel. 2 of them actually. I hit it with that attachment right there, and then used that one to get through like all this. Oh wow. And like to hit through all this, but I'm gonna wipe it down. I just hit it with degreaser again. There's some spots I couldn't get, but I'm just gonna wipe it all off, and then I'm actually going to come back and hit it with some soap and water, and then be ready for paint. It's not gonna be perfect. This yellow is actually paint, but we're just gonna paint over it. You can tell like some of that's flaked off. There's the other spot like this right here. But it's gonna get painted over, so we're not too worried about it. It's gonna be on the bottom of the motor anyway, so. But, yep. So, let's wait for this to dry off, wipe it down, and wash it, and then be ready for paint. Well, I got it wiped down, and then I realized that I didn't have this rolling the entire time I was doing that. So I'm about to turn that on, and then we're about to get to painting this thing. All I did was hit it with some brake cleaner. I didn't even bother washing it to knock all the excess grease and stuff that I didn't wipe off before. So now it's pretty much a clean surface and ready for paint. So let's get painting. Welcome to my bedroom, guys. Forgot to make an outro. On me, and it's my bed, but we're going to keep this short and simple. You'll see how far we made it. Not as far as we wanted to. We wanted to get the motor on the frame. Didn't happen. So next week we only got one day together. We don't know what we're going to do yet. So that pretty much means follow us on Facebook so y'all can stay updated on what's going on. But anyways, just wanted to make a quick word on the end of this video because I'm about done editing this video. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Coop's House. Turn your notifications on, like and subscribe, and comment what we need to work on, what y'all want to see more of, if it's good, just whatever. That way we can interact with y'all. Ask questions. I mean, we'll probably end up doing some podcasts, doing some Q&As to just to post, even on Facebook, comment on all of our posts. I mean, we're not going to bite, maybe. But anyways, like, comment, and subscribe, and turn your notifications on, just not so when we post, pretty much. So I'm gonna stop blabbering, and hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see y'all next week.